Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg.
I'm Joel.
And we got Teddy.
Teddy.
We don't know how long he'll last like this. We had to push the table down a little bit because we figured it would be fun to do our November reading wrap-up, by the way, in front of our Christmas tree. And we don't know how long he's going to last, but we're going to try.
He's really tired.
He is really tired.
We went and played out in the snow. Mm-hmm. Explain what he does with the snow when we run.
So in our neighborhood, at least, where the snow is deep enough, as he's running, he will all of a sudden sort of dip his head, scoop a bunch of snow into his mouth, and keep running. It's like he's eating snow and running at the same time. So once he's digested it, he'll scoop, get some more. It's adorable. It is absolutely adorable. But we took him for a walk today, and he sniffed and ran in the snow. He likes to run in the snow, and it's a lot for his daddies. Yeah. So we don't know how long he'll last with us, but we're going to try because everybody loves seeing Teddy and everybody loves seeing Joel. So, oh, stop. So we're here for our November reading wrap up. In case I didn't say, there's the Christmas tree. We're already a bit into December, and I had said that I wasn't going to film a video this weekend and just take time off. And then you pointed out it's the end of the month we need to do a wrap up. So it's Sunday. We are doing our wrap up, and we need to hurry our way through this because we got this book, the Milk Street Cookbook, at Montana Book Company on Black Friday, and you can tell there's a lot that we want to accomplish, and I need to cook this little blue bookmark right there for dinner tonight.
Yeah. So we went to Montana Book Company on Black Friday, which we do not participate in Black Friday, but the store was quiet. We were able to take Teddy and see the staff and say hi and happy holidays.
And actually chat.
And because Small Business Saturday was going to be a zoo.
Yeah, so it had never occurred to me because but I think of Black Friday as just being something we don't participate in. But I guess Black Friday is like a big corporate thing. So small independent stores, they get really busy on Small Business Saturday. But so let me show you what I'm going to be making Joel for dinner tonight. I think Teddy's going to be really excited about this too. It's spaghetti with prosciutto, Parmesan, and peas. This is a really good cookbook. We are we're doing a different pasta. We're not going to do spaghetti, but because we like to go off book.
We're going to do orecchiette, which is little like ear shaped. Yeah. And they're colorful and pretty, and they'll be nice.
It's going to be delightful. So we need to film this so I can get in the kitchen and do that.
Yeah.
We both have 9 books to talk about this month. And I've been starting off a lot lately. So do you want to go first?
Oh, makes no difference. Can you see your list? Then I can. So my first one was The Firefighter and the Cop by N.R. Walker. R.J. Scott. And it's one of my male-on-male romance novels. And this is a series of 10. And I don't think I'll do it, but it was just something I needed to read just before bed, to just kind of chill out. And I enjoy a good firefighter story. So there we go. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. And my first one was Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders, and the Birth of the FBI by David Grann. I had wanted to read it before we saw the movie, and then we ended up not. Because the movie's like 3.5 hours, so every time Joel was like, do you want to go see it? I was like, not right now. So we are probably going to end up waiting for streaming. So I didn't end up timing it all that great. It was a good book. It'll be interesting to compare it to the movie because the book it talks a lot about the Osage murders, but it is very concerned as well with the creation of the FBI. And I think the movie pivots away, from what I understand, it pivots away from the creation of the FBI part to at least some degree to focus a little bit more on the murders. However, it does sound like it still centers Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who is white. So it doesn't quite get away from, like the intention was to focus more on the Osage, and it doesn't sound like it quite got there. Because the book, it covers that a little bit, but it's very much concerned with other things. So it'll be interesting to compare. It was a good book. I liked it. And now that I've read that, I can get to The Wager. I've heard a lot of really good things about that, David Grann's next book. So
yeah, I have The Wager on hold, but I do need to read Killers of the Flower Moon. And before we see the movie, because I'd like to read it. So I may do that. I have a travel date coming up here, so I'll probably do it on that.
Yeah, I think he's going to fall asleep.
He is.
So the next one on your list is one we actually did together.
Yes. So we did Tic-Tac-Mistletoe, which is the first of 2 books that we have talked about in the past. It's a series of, and it's a little town in Montana.
Hartbridge.
And it's just all these Australians come to Montana and hook up with dudes.
Yeah.
So that's
it's
basically,
fun,
they're fun, they're cute. We did it on the way to Spokane.
We did it on the way to Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah. And this is where N.R. Walker comes in. N.R. Walker is the author.
That is N.R.
Tic-Tac-Mistletoe.
Walker, the author.
So we did, I don't even remember, like Merry Christmas Cupid is the second one.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't remember the name of the third, but we did those when we were driving back and forth to Pullman. Washington, for treatment for Jamie. And we took Teddy to Seattle. He's going to sleep.
He is. So I'm going to put him down.
Yeah.
Okay. Say bye.
Say bye-bye.
I think he's snoring already.
He kind of is. But his eyes are open, so... But at least everybody got to see him for a little bit. So they're really cute. And actually, I mentioned in my Friday Reads video that I've had a hard time keeping up with comments just because some of the biggest videos of the year on this channel have posted recently. And I believe somebody did ask about Tic-Tac-Mistletoe and sort of sexual content. And I saw the question, we talked about it, and then in the morning when I there had been so many other comments that we were talking about it today, and I realized I don't think I ever responded. So real quick, I would say this book does not have a whole lot of sexual content. The second book in the series has a lot of innuendo and sex. And then the third book,
a little, not much.
It's kind of in between the first book and the second book.
I don't like it as well. I think that's why somebody is asking. Is like, I don't want to read all that. Yeah. I just skim through it.
Yeah. Because I think to both of us, it's more about the relationship. And when there are like heavy, awkward sex scenes, and I guess not awkward, but it's just it's not what we're there for. So, and some of, like, I would say Annabeth Albert, I almost start to blush. So it's like I just have to skip.
She's kinky, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I still skip.
Yeah, so, and this was a really fun, cute one. You had already done it in the past, so I caught up to you.
Yeah, so it was the first of the series, so we thought we'd do it to be fun. It was Christmas. We were going Christmas shopping.
Yes.
So,
and we did not have our Christmas tree yet.
Not yet.
But, you know, the vibe was there.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
So next, I have Maurice by E.M. Forster, or Morris, I guess if you live in the UK. So I have this beautiful edition.
Oh, is that the one from the box?
It's the one from the box set, because some handsome man gave me a box set of E.M. Forster books for my birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. Were you going to make a joke about you not being handsome?
Don't even. I was going to say, oh, that bitch. It was me.
It was you. So it's a beautiful edition, but this is the one that I actually read. It's the one that I've had. It's a movie tie-in. It's fine. I have frequently kind of flirted with the idea that E.M. Forster might be my favorite author and Maurice is one of my favorite books. I think Maurice still is one of my favorite books just because of what it meant to me the first time I read it. I did not love it nearly as much the second time around because I didn't have that personal connection to it. And rereading E.M. Forster books this year, I do kind of wonder. So I don't think he is my favorite author. I think I'm too up and down on his books. And I think I need to go on a journey to find out who my favorite author is. Because I don't think it's Kurt Vonnegut anymore. Could be Toni Morrison, but I have only read, I think, 3, maybe 4 of her books, and I need to find it. So maybe next year my journey will be to find it.
Louise Eldridge?
I'm up and down on her books too.
Yeah, because you like a lot of hers, but
I do like a lot of her books. I own like every single one of them. But so I need to go on a journey and find out who my favorite author is because I think I'm too up and down on E.M. Forster. And there was interesting discussion in the E.M. Forster read-along about the way women are portrayed in this, which is interesting because I think in A Room with a View and Howard's End, he does a really great job with female characters, but in this one, it's not great. So that was my next one.
I read that last year.
Yeah.
I think last year or earlier this year.
Yeah.
I liked it, but it's my first E.M. Forster, so.
And that's kind of where I ended up this time, so. What do you have next? So next is another one we did together.
Yeah. We also did this going to Seattle, but Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. And I did not know what to expect. A close friend of ours, she loves this book.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what to expect. I really liked it. It was a very strong woman presence in it, and she was not taking anything from anybody, and she was just going to be herself, and I loved it. and I liked how the chemistry tied into it and everything. So.
Yeah. And I think I had what I thought was an accurate understanding of what the book was going to be about, but the descriptions of the book really lean on the fact that she is a scientist who, when she loses her job, she ends up hosting a cooking show that takes off, becomes really popular, sort of Julia Child-esque. That's what I knew of the book, but it actually spends a lot of time going through her scientific career. Like, I think you only get to the cooking show like halfway through the book.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say that is the main part of the book.
Yeah, it's not the focus. No. And I think that's actually to the book's benefit because it makes it, not that the premise as described would have been uninteresting, it sounded fun, but I think what you get in the book is actually a lot more interesting and nuanced than just that.
But I also appreciated the culinary side of it. She would bring culinary and chemistry together. And why does this do this when you're baking or cooking? And I found it really interesting.
And one thing I really loved as well is that not only did she do that, but she also made science accessible by talking about cooking. And when people, but you're just talking about cooking, she did not accept, no, this is science. Because there are chemical reactions. And she was also extremely uncompromising about how difficult it is to be a housewife or to take care of a house, how difficult it is to be a mother, and would point things out to men that just otherwise didn't notice that level of work and care. And I really appreciated that as well.
So she would ask a woman, what do you do? Well, I'm a housewife, just a housewife. It's like, no, you're not just a housewife. You manage a home. And I loved it.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I think it's kind of high on my list too for our year end.
I think for me, I need to sit down with my list and spend time with it. I think it was like just missing my top 10, but I need to sit down and spend time with it. Because I also am reading a book right now that I think is going to creep in too. So we'll see.
And I think I'm going to read it too. So it should be fun.
Teaser for what's coming at the end of this
exactly
video.
What do you have?
So I have The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. I was a huge fan of Matrix by Lauren Groff. And this is sort of she talked about how she has a sort of thematic trilogy. They're not direct sequels, but Matrix is about a woman in the 1200s, I believe. And this is about a young woman in the 1600s in the United States. And it's about empowerment for them a little bit. This one was a lot more bleak. I'd say Matrix is about a girl boss lesbian nun, and I will always love that. But this one is about a girl young woman who escapes from, I don't think they name it, but it's basically the Jamestown colony. And she ends up in the wilderness. It teases out details of how she got there. I listened to the audio, and I really should have stopped and pivoted to the book because I didn't like the narrator of the audio. And just to get it in, I stuck with it. And I think I would have had a much better experience if I had pivoted to the book, because I was talking to Essie at Montana Book Company, and she really liked The Vaster Wilds, but she started the audio, wasn't liking it, stopped, picked up the book, and said it was so much better after that. So I should have done that. But that was my next book. And I'm very interested to see what the next thematic sequel is.
Cool. Done?
Yes.
Cool. My next book was Best Laid Plans by Gwen Florio. The main character is Nora Best. So that's Best Laid Plans.
Oh, clever.
She caught her husband cheating and took the RV, took the truck, and just disappeared. And while in the middle of Wyoming, a murder happens. So it was actually good. I think Charlie from Montana Book Company recommended this to me because we were talking about just mysteries and novels like that. And it was a lot of fun. It is a series, so Nora Best goes on to another thing. So I'll be kind of excited to see how that pans out.
Yeah.
But it was a fun book. It was a fun read.
Yeah. So my next book actually was Tic-Tac-Mistletoe, which we already talked about. And then my next book after that was Lessons in Chemistry, which we already talked about. So the next one we haven't talked about was So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan. Tiny little thing.
Dunk it in your tea.
I could dunk it in my tea. I'm a big fan of Claire Keegan. So these are actually 3 short stories that were packaged together. One of them, I think the title one, So Late in the Day, was in the New Yorker in 2022. The other 2 came from previous collections. And when I first talked about this, I was wrong. So one of them comes from Antarctica. The other comes from Walk the Blue Fields. I didn't think they had been published in the US. They have. And actually, since Claire Keegan has gotten popular, those story collections are now on Scribd. So I have them saved. But I'm kind of loving this trend of getting a tiny little Claire Keegan book every year. So I'm curious to see if they do another one next year. I really like this. It's subtitled Stories of Women and Men, and it's about the sort of divide between women and men. They play with the boundary between the ideal happy relationship between women and men and the sort of violent, complicated reality and how it can easily spin into violence. It was really interesting. I am a huge Claire Keegan fan. So that was my next one.
Is she Irish?
She is Irish. And why is that significant?
I think we're going to Ireland in May.
I think we might be.
Just thought I would ask.
Yeah. What do you have next?
Okay. So I have a disclaimer here on these 2 because don't judge me, please. My next 2 were Stories I Can Only Tell My Friends and Love Life, 2 books, by Rob Lowe. I grew up with Rob Lowe, not literally, but I grew up watching his movies, and I loved all his movies. He's even today very relevant in a lot of that I watch. And I really like the guy. And I don't know anything about him personally or socially or politically. And I think politically he's an independent, may not line up, but I totally like the guy. So the books were on audio, and he read them. And I was like, I'm just going to try these and see how they work. The first book was really good. He talked about his career and how he got, and a lot of the books or a lot of the movies he talked about were movies I grew up with and liked. So I wanted to do that. Love Life, his second book, was more spiritual and about life and everything else. And he went through some of the movies. But I just was very curious and I wanted to read them.
So you were on a trip for work, right. And when you got back, I said, well, what were you reading? And you did the exact same thing. You kind of laughed and you were like, okay, don't judge me. And then you said, I've heard really good things about Rob Lowe's first book. I actually didn't even know there was a second book.
Yeah, the first book was really good. I mean, it was interesting as far as his childhood growing up in the movie industry.
Yeah. So I'm not going to judge.
So I like his on-screen presence, and when you kind of learn more about his personal, he seems like a very good guy personally too. Still married for over 20 some years, and 2 kids he absolutely adores. So he's a good, strong family man, and I appreciate that.
Very funny on Parks and Recreation, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 books.
Okay. Ready for me?
Go for it.
All right, so my next one was Whose Body by Dorothy L. Sayers. People have recommended Dorothy L. Sayers to me. I've talked about that a fair amount because I like a classic whodunit. I toy around with the Agatha Christie books. They are a little hit or miss. They can be problematic. Any book you read from the early 1900s, especially in the mystery thriller genre, is going to be a little problematic. And this one does have some uncomfortable anti-Semitic tones. Like, it doesn't go in hard, but like, the fact that someone who goes missing is Jewish comes up in some uncomfortable ways, and the way people describe him and talk to him is not great. But the premise of this book is exactly like it sounds. A guy gets up in the morning and there's a dead body in his bathtub, and he doesn't know whose body it is. And it connects to another mystery where somebody has disappeared and Lord Peter Wimsey investigates. I just thought it was okay, being honest. I found Lord Peter Wimsey a little annoying. Not a little. You had to listen to me talk about it as I was reading. I thought he was annoying. But I'm willing to try another book and see if that calms down over it. And in my last Friday reads, I talked about how what I like about classic whodunit mysteries are that you get a cast of characters together, everybody's got a motive, somebody dies, and then you spend a lot of time with the suspects. And this has a very different structure. And it's good that it gets away from the sort of cliched idea, but kind of that's what I like about it. So it was a little interesting. But that was my next one.
Yeah.
So.
We watched Haunting in Venice, and it was like that. You kind of meet everybody. Somebody gets killed.
Yeah.
And then you're still with everybody, and another body goes down, so you still don't know. I think those are the kind of good whodunits I enjoy.
Yeah.
Because you know the killer's in the room, but you don't know who it is.
And I think a lot of the time when I read a mystery these days, it's because I'm looking for something, I don't want to say comforting or cozy because there's a dead body. It's not that. But it's like escapist type reading. So in those circumstances, a little bit of reliance on the familiar is kind of what you're looking for. So anyway, that's me. So, yeah. What do you have?
My next is the third in a series. It was called Forgotten Trails by Claire Kells. It's becoming one of my favorite authors as far as a mystery. So the main character is Felicity Hartland, and she's an FBI agent for the national parks. So if there's a murder or something that happened in the national parks, she's the federal agent that comes in and investigates it. And she has a sidekick that kind of helps her do everything. And I like it because, strong female lead.
It's a theme for us.
Yeah. She's bad, and in a good way. And I really like how the book is written because it follows the murder and what she has to do to solve it. And they're really good. And plus, when you're in the national parks, this author knows national parks. So you actually do get the good feel that you're in the parks.
Yeah.
So Claire Kells, this is a series of 3 for me, and I really enjoyed it. And then Alice Henderson is another national parks author who does kind of a murder mystery.
And she has a connection to Montana.
And she does have a connection to Montana. So both of these series and these authors have been really good. A lot of people have asked me some of my favorite novels or favorite mysteries. And so Claire Kells and Alice Henderson would be on that list.
Yeah. And I need to catch up to both authors because I haven't read either.
At least read the first one and see how you feel about it.
Yeah, and they sound really fun from what you've talked about.
Yeah, they are.
So, yeah. Ready for me?
Go for it. Okay.
So my next one was The Talk by Darrin Bell, which I got from the library. It's a graphic memoir. Really good, extremely interesting, and I'd say urgent. So basically, as a child, he is taught by his white mother, not his black father, that she tries to have the talk with him, that police will suspect him, and then even if he hasn't done anything, he could be treated like a suspect, so he has to be very careful. She doesn't want to buy him a water gun because she's worried that police would use it as an excuse to shoot him. And he, as a kid, he doesn't understand why, but then as he gets older, like not almost immediately after that conversation happens, he starts seeing ways in which she was right. And then it's bookended because then at the end of the book, he has his own son and needs to have the talk with him. And then everything in the middle is about his experience with race and being treated very badly in a lot of circumstances. And it's a really interesting book. I think it's kind of, I would say it's an important read. And he is actually the first black man to have won a Pulitzer Prize for editorial cartooning, which is a great achievement. And it's just a very smart, well done graphic memoir. I do actually like graphic memoirs, and I thought it was a really good example. I'd say 5 stars. Check it out. So, what do you have?
My last 2 are kind of connected. I did Of Time and Turtles by Cy Montgomery. This was fascinating. I don't want to say a whole lot to spoil it for Greg, but it's in the title, Mending the World, Shell by Shattered Shell. But Cy Montgomery actually, it's nonfiction, actually works in a turtle rescue center. So whenever a turtle is hit on the road or anything, they go out and get it. And they believe every turtle should have a life. And no matter how bad it is, they at least try to save the turtle. And there's some parts in here that are really, really hard to read. But it's also incredible what a turtle's body can do. A turtle can regenerate their spine. They can regenerate a lot of things in their body. So where most vets would say, no, let's just euthanize them. They said, no, we're not going to. and a couple of their turtles that said to euthanize, they actually released it back into the wild to go on. It's a good book on understanding a turtle. They are smart, and they do have emotions in them. I always thought turtles were not very smart because their head is really small, but their little tiny brain can produce a lot. You learn a lot about how a turtle's anatomy is, and also kind of how the shell grows. It's just things I did not know, and I love wildlife. So I found it a fascinating book and really loved it. There's a part in there I did not expect, and it just made me so happy.
And he keeps teasing me.
I keep teasing him, yeah. So it's like, oh my gosh, a twist.
So I need to read it so we can actually talk about it.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So can I jump into my final, since they're related?
Yeah. Okay. One thing I would say before you do real quick, because just the book itself is beautiful. So I really want to make sure people can see the cover. And there are illustrations from Matt Patterson throughout, and there are photos of all of the turtles, but like it's just a really beautiful book itself.
So when Cy wrote the book, Matt is a big turtle enthusiast, but he's also an artist. So Cy and Matt kind of go through this whole journey together, and they are inseparable, and they kind of have this very fond love for a specific turtle, which I totally get it because I did too. So when I got home, I had to get the book so I could go find the turtle and Common. And it's because you just fall in love with these turtles.
Yeah. And I do think, given what you just said, I think it's really nice that she included Matt Patterson so much in the book. And I've read The Soul of an Octopus, and you've read The Soul of an Octopus. So good. And it's the same thing. She does excellent writing about this topic, the way she got you invested in the lives of octopuses, and had the palpable enthusiasm for them, and the people who care for them and study them is incredible. So I'm really looking forward to this.
The book is great. I would recommend the audio because Cy Montgomery, she does read the books. Yeah. And she's very passionate and emotional. And I mean, you get those feels from her when she does it. So another one of her books she did was The Hummingbird's Gift. It was a short little book. And it was just the life of rehabilitating 2 baby hummingbirds that, I mean, when she found them, she said were just like tiny. And
you could dump them in your coffee.
You could, but you couldn't because they'd get wet. Yeah. But they could only feed them through a syringe needle because the mouth was so small.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you got to be careful with that needle too because you could poke them. And fascinating. You learn a lot about these animals: the octopus, the turtles, the hummingbirds.
Yeah.
Just things you probably don't know. And I just love her writing. So she's done several other books on animals. So I think that's going to be a project in 2024 is to read all of her books. Yeah. She does one on a tiger.
Oh.
I love tigers.
Yeah.
So that was my final
I'm bummed because when I was I was trying to find The Soul of an Octopus in a used copy, and they had one at my local used bookstore, but it was beaten up. And they had another one of her books, and I really should have just gotten it. But
yeah, I would like to get a hard copy so they kind of go together. But the paperback is adorable. So on the paperback, you can flip the pages. There,
and it's like a flip book.
Like that. It's a flip book. There's a little octopus drawing on the bottom there. So you flip it, and you can see the little octopus going. It's adorable. So hopefully the hardcover has that as well.
Hopefully. But yeah, I think it's important to note because I had the same experience with The Soul of an Octopus. Her reading the books to you is incredible because her voice is part of the charm, and her palpable enthusiasm for the subject matter is part of what makes it so great. However, The Soul of an Octopus has that beautiful flip book, and this is just so gorgeously put together. And I think you were really happy that we had the book.
Yeah, because I had to come home and look at the illustrations. Matt does some beautiful illustrations in there.
There's one, and there are photos of a lot of the turtles and things. So so the audio is fantastic, but the print book is really beautiful as well. So we're doing both.
Yeah. So if you do read the book, Fire Chief is the turtle that just stole my heart.
I think there are a lot of photos of Fire Chief in there because the name is familiar. So you were hesitant about the Hummingbird's gift because And I was a little too, because we did, what was it, the Hawk's Way?
The Hawk's Way.
And to me, that one, it's really short as well. So just as you're getting into it, it ends. And I was a little frustrated by that. But Charlie from Montana Book Company had just read Of Time and Turtles and loved it, and then told us, no, Hummingbird's Gift is great.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would have stayed away from one of the short ones because of that. So I'm glad that you and Charlie have reassured me about
I think Charlie even agreed the Hawk's Way was just not that impressive. Yeah. It was impressive, but it ends.
Yeah, it's just that one, I think you want the whole book, but given how much time it takes for her to do all of the things that go into this book, I understand she can't live with hawks and live with turtles at the same time. But so that was the only frustration with that.
Oh, highly recommend any Cy Montgomery book.
Yeah, she's a delight. Are we ready for my...
Yeah, go for it.
So my final book, and then I do have a DNF. The final book I read in November was A Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Power. This had been on the long list for the National Book Award and immediately jumped out to me as something I would like to read. Because November is, I think it's Native American History Month, but there are a lot of people who will read. I wanted to do something that would honor an Indigenous story, and I kind of intentionally read it the week of Thanksgiving, because we love Thanksgiving, but I feel a little weird about the origins of the holiday. So I wanted to try to balance out some of that by doing a book by a Native author about a Native story, and it was really good. If you have read The Yield by Tara Jumenge, it's about a different country. But it's fine. It has the same sort of message about Indigenous culture being stolen by colonists and how difficult it is to get back in that sort of sense of generational trauma. And in A Council of Dolls, it takes the form of 3 generations of women in a family and the sort of traumas that they have inflicted. And then the one who gets into the current day has to sort of reconcile with that trauma, which is something I really deeply appreciated. And I thought it was a really great book. So... Cool. That was that one. And then I had also started Holler Child by Latoya Watkins, and it wasn't quite what I expected, and it was due back at the library, and I tried to force myself to get into it, and I just really wasn't in the headspace for that book, so I did DNF it. I think I had made it I forced myself about halfway through, and then thought, why am I doing this to myself? And I returned it. So that was my second DNF of the year. We are 2 days into December as we're filming this.
We are.
So what do you have? What are your December plans?
I do want to join you, so if you want to bring that up.
So I'm currently reading The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I started it in November, but it's carrying into December, and I'm loving it. Really, really loving it. And I was just telling you about it this morning.
Yeah.
And you got FOMO.
Total FOMO.
Yeah, so that's going to be hopefully my first book that I finish in December.
Nice. Yeah. I am going to, so I have that on my list to start this week, and I'm going to probably, break away from my romance novels, but do Christmas novels, or Christmas little stories.
And I love that idea.
Yeah, so I'm going to do, there's a Christmas murder, there's another Christmas romance I want to do. So just Christmas.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of books I've been looking for on my Arctic voyage here, still on my Arctic voyage. I can't find the audios for, so I'm going to probably hold them off for a little bit, but get ready for January.
Yeah, I think the idea of leaning into Christmas is good.
Yeah, I got a lot of baking to do.
Yeah, that's... So, I mean, my only plan for December is just to catch up on things that I want to finish before the end of the year. This was one of them. Northwoods by Daniel Mason is another. And I am probably... I want to read The Color Purple because the movie would be coming out. This is something I got to do. But see, I have Northwoods in physical book, Color Purple in physical book. So that I'm going to be busy with physical books. Yeah. What?
Oh, I think you talked about it on your book haul, about your new Color Purple book.
Yes. Somebody...
Really pretty.
I did not know this. You get competitive with auctions. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But
no, it's true.
So I shouldn't have told you that there was an auction.
What? There's an auction?
Because if there's an auction, we're going to win. So we won. And now I owe you something.
You know I'm very competitive.
I know you're competitive. I didn't know that extended
When
to
we
auctions.
went to the silent auctions for the Janet Rankin.
I mean, I did notice you were a little intense, but I didn't, but I didn't know it was a thing.
Oh, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's everything.
So I have a color purple now because of that. Hardcover. First edition, third printing of it. It was affordable. And that was the good thing. I mean, even with an auction, it was a really good condition copy of the book in hardcover at a price that I have never seen one in that good condition at. So
I'm competitive, but I know my limits, and that was too cheap. That was too cheap not to go after.
Yes, just like me. I'm kidding. And there was something else that I wanted to kind of fit in December before the year ends, but I can't think of what it is. But so that's kind of my December plan, and I'm trying not to pile too many things. I'm trying to embrace. A lot of stuff is going to carry into 2024 at this point. It's going to be fine. So it'll be what it's going to be.
I do need to get a couple of books in because I am, I think 4 books away from my goal of 75 books for the year.
I've been doing, so I think I'm at 92. And if I finish Heaven and Earth, I think that will be the 93rd. So part of me is feeling a little bit pressure to hit 100. I'm trying not to do that to myself because I put a lot of pressure on myself to hit 100 last year. And it made the last part of December a little not fun.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. I'm just telling myself, like, if I get books like this in, like as many as possible, or this one.
That's very short. Do it.
I could, yeah. Well, that's the only one that on audio. A lot of the other ones are physical book things. So that's kind of what I want to do. And I think that's November. That's a preview of December.
Yep.
And Oscar movies are starting to hit. So I've already dragged you to see The Holdovers.
Yep.
Oh, PSA. Because we talked about lessons in chemistry, which kind of reminds you of Julia Child. The second season of Julia is on Max. They did 3 episodes all at once, and now it's weekly. Yeah. And it's a delight.
Yeah. It's fun. We still have all of our cartoons to watch. Peanuts and The Grinch and Frosty and Rudolph.
Yeah, we're going to try to do those this year.
Yeah.
And I'd already dragged you to see the whole. You wanted to see the whole.
I didn't drag him. Yeah, I had the option to stay home, and I didn't.
And there are a lot of other Oscar movies or potential Oscar movies coming up. So we need to watch Rustin. It's on Netflix.
It is. So that should be a good one.
Yeah. I think we're done.
I think so.
So let us know what you've been reading. If you have thoughts about anything we've talked about in the comment section down below. And as always, we really appreciate your time. And we will be back. Until next time, happy reading.
Bye.